Hello all and welcome to TaleInferno. My name is Charlotte and today we'll be talking about the literary theory called queer theory. Now before I get all crazy and keep talking on and on and on and on about it, I just want to make mention at the beginning that all the information and everything that I've learned has come from this book, Beginning Theory by Peter Barry, as well as other resources from Google and so forth. But yeah, those are my main resource. The one book is my main resource for this information. So if you have any other inputs that you want to make about this theory or any of the other theories that I make mention, go ahead and leave something in the comments and let me know. I always want to learn more about this stuff. But yeah, take this opportunity to go and get some research yourself, and yeah, let's get cracking. So I think the first thing that we can talk about when we talk about queer theory is kind of its origins in a sense. I mean, it's got a clear connection with feminist criticism because just like feminist criticism, it's got a very prominent aim in being quite social and political and so forth, as we mentioned in the previous video of what feminist criticism is, and you can find a link to it in the description if you want to go watch that too. But yes, there is a link between the two in that regards, but there was also disjoint in it, and I think that's probably where queer theory kind of took off, which is where women that were part of the feminist movement and part of the whole feminist criticism and everything like that weren't really taking into regard things like lesbianism and so forth. Like, people thought that there was, women, whoever was part of that movement at the time thought that there really wasn't a connect with that movement in regards to other races, classes, and sexual orientations, that feminism was, and feminist criticism was really focusing on just the white, middle-class, heterosexual woman. And so that's where queer theory kind of started spreading its wings and coming to life. I mean, that's just one part of it. And I think a massive thing that we need to note here is that although it's called queer theory and a lot of people think that must have just everything to do with sexual orientation, it's not the case. Queer theory is very much being inclusive as possible. So being inclusive to all sexual orientations and all identities. And I think that's a really important thing to note. So queer theory not only focuses in literature, culture, and philosophical matters, but really focuses on how literature, culture, and philosophical matters relate to not only sexual orientation, but identities. And those could be gender identities or it could be any other identities. Again, it's all about being as inclusive as possible. Another thing about queer theory is that it's not necessarily as well established as other theories as well. It is quite new in regards to theories and literary theories. But something that's very common in queer theory is the fact that it does take a lot of elements from other theories. I mean, one good example is post-structuralism, which I suppose in this regard, how it focuses on queer theory is that of being able to deconstruct what's going on. So deconstructing and understanding opposites in this instance. So opposites would be, say, homosexuality and heterosexuality, or male and female. Like, what makes these pairs opposite? Like, they're paired together, they're known to be together in that regards, and they're thought of together, but why are they opposites? Like, what makes them opposites? And deconstructing them to be able to understand that. And then from that, queer theorists are able to kind of determine what the hierarchy and the privileges are in those distinct differences and opposites, which is definitely a part of the whole queer theory. Our queer theorists, I'm having a really hard time saying that over and over again, how queer theorists do their work. So I think the main thing that you can really grab from this is that queer theorists, when they're doing their work and they're analysing and deconstructing and understanding literature, culture, and philosophical matters in regards to queer theory and everything else in between, there is definitely the work regarding identifying writers or scenes that link to the LGBTQ community. So this could be like assumptions, like assuming, like it could be like like through classic literature where it's not necessarily stated or written anywhere that an author or a scene is actually part of identifying as something other than the norms, or it could be quite obvious. It could actually be a scene that's challenging the norms. They really foreground them and identify them and explain them and try and understand exactly why they're so important. Another important part of queer theory and what queer theorists do is try to expose and foreground genres that might have been originally neglected or might have really distinct and obvious links to how men and women or sexual orientations were created, like how those norms came about. Literature and language is really important in that regards. I mean, I think we mentioned a little bit when we were talking about feminist criticism, but how language can be seen to be either female or male in some ways, and how that goes, like, that also was linked to queer theory in that regards, and how sexual orientation and all that is represented in language and genres, and how the norms in regards to that were established in that way. And I suppose a major part of queer theory as well is identifying and exposing the inequalities and the homophobia and everything like that that is riddled within literature and culture and everything like that. Like, that's a major part of it. And we see it a lot nowadays where people are really taking a stand in regards to that. And it's interesting to see it all come about because a lot of people come up with some amazing ideas and theories themselves, and it's definitely a theory that is going to continue to grow and will establish itself more and become more unique, for want of a better word. So yeah, that's all that I have to say about queer theory. This actually will be a short video. Again, I think it's mostly because, as I said, it's not necessarily well established, and it really is just about identifying, exposing, and foregrounding the themes of sexual orientation, identity, and everything else, being, as I mentioned, as inclusive as possible. So I'll be very interested to see where it goes and how it grows and anything else that rhymes with O's. But yeah, it's definitely something that I'll be interested in, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it. I mean, there is a lot of theories out there regarding queer theory, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it, because I'd love to build my repertoire and understanding it a little bit more. So leave some comments and like this video if you found it interesting at all. And yeah, anyway, that's it from me. Remember to ignite the story, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!